Do you remember the scene at the very end of The Devil's Rejects when the protagonists gleefully drive headfirst into the hail of gunfire, knowing their fate but doing it anyway because, well, they're crazy murderous assholes? I couldn't help but think about that as I read an article this week about the small Canadian music retail chain, Sunrise Records, announcing that they were going to take over 70 locations that will be left empty by the demise of HMV Canada, another music and pop culture chain that is closing this year. By the way, sorry if that was a spoiler, but the movie came out in 2005. You know, back when people still bought DVDs. If you were going to watch it by now, you would have. If you're Canadian and you hurry, you could probably get a copy for a serious discount at your local soon-to-be-closed HMV. Sunrise Records has 9 locations in the province of Ontario, which forms the entirety of their chain. They used to have more, but they've been losing locations for the last decade. Only 3 years ago, they closed down 2 stores in downtown Toronto and 1 store in St. Catharines because they couldn't work out lease deals with their landlords, deals they needed to make because they were losing money and couldn't afford the rent. London, Ontario, where I'm from, had at least 3 stores at one point. Now, they have 1. Crazy can't begin to describe this venture. Sunrise, barely keeping their heads above water with 9 stores after downsizing, decides to expand to 79 locations in less than a year. They're taking over 70 stores from a direct competitor that was reportedly losing $100,000 a day at those locations, in an industry that is almost universally on the downswing. Don't get me wrong, I like physical media, but people are purchasing less of it with the exception of vinyl, a fad that can't go on forever. Traditionally, all collectors' markets have peaks and valleys, and by valleys, I mean massive bottomless caverns from which there is no escape. Digital Music News reported last year that nearly half of vinyl buyers don't even listen to them. They just buy vinyl to have it. How long do you think that will last? Want to know how much your baseball card collection you started in the 90s is worth? Nothing. Those Beanie Babies? Toss them in a dumpster. Vinyl, especially buying new vinyl for the purposes of collecting, can't last. And as more young adults get older and have disposable income, fewer of them will spend it on music, a thing that they grew up with distributed to them digitally and for basically free. Oh, but don't worry, Sunrise is diversifying. Diversification means more stock, which means more overhead, which means slimmer profit margins. HMV themselves did this, and it's speculated that it's what killed them. They started selling printed t-shirts, graphic novels, board games, those stupid blind boxes where you pay $10 and you get the same fucking Game of Thrones figure you already got 3 of. All that stock costs money, and every second it's sitting on a shelf, every second you're not turning it over, it's a loss. Sunrise says they'll succeed where HMV failed by having more selection. According to Sunrise Records president Doug Putnam, offering 300 to 400 styles of t-shirts compared to the 50 that HMV sold. Because if people weren't buying 50 shirts, they'll buy 300? What? And man, it's a good thing that Spencer's and Hot Topic doesn't exist in Canada, in the very malls that they'll be taking over retail space in. Oh wait, they do? Can you see why I imagine 3 crazy idiots in a car driving toward a heavily armed police presence that has them outnumbered and outgunned? But Sunrise has done one thing correctly out of the gate. They've won the public over by saying they will invite all former HMV employees to apply for roughly 700 vacancies. Sunrise gets employees who are already trained, both at working at a music retailer and at hearing the inevitable news that their store is closing in 3 months. And the public says, "Oh, that's a good, responsible company. The type I'd like to support. Winning hearts and minds." Will that translate to winning wallets? Probably not when they find out that everything there is at least 20% more expensive than on Amazon, but at least the employees putting the $29.99 sticker on a Blu-ray copy of Star Wars The Last Jedi will have been hired by a company with heart. So good luck, Sunrise Records. I really think you'll need it. But please, feel free to prove me wrong. Make me put out another video in, say, 2022 about how stupid I was, and how your eventual expansion to 200 stores across North America has resulted in you making more money a second than I'll see in 20 lifetimes. At the very least, maybe the ads for my premium content that I'll show on that video will generate enough money to allow me to afford to buy a single record at your store. Oh man, who has unrealistic financial expectations now?